right, guys, welcome. We are broadcasting live. We're doing some of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial coverage. We did want to start this by pointing out that we're not lawyers, we're not journalists, so we're kind of more just talking about the like the principles and concept of self-defense and all that, not necessarily all the super specifics of the case. We do have John trying to fact check a little bit so that we can make sure we're close to accurate or look up whatever we need to. But we're joined today. We got Tommy. He's a good friend of ours. Keegan and Corey both normally on the show as well, and then John's in the studio with me today. So what's going on here?
What?
We might have to mute Corey intermittently. But,
Yeah.
But Keegan, I kind of wanted to start with you. Doing the concealed carry stuff. What was your initial take on this whole thing?
Well, obviously he shouldn't have been there. I mean, he probably could have just stayed home that night and not been in the situation he's in now. But with that logic, you can also say the same for the thousands of rioters out there burning and looting the businesses. He doesn't have a CCW. He's not even old enough to get one. But whenever you put that all aside and you look at the defense of the situation, someone attacking you with a skateboard to the head, kicking you in the face, anything to the head is clearly bodily harm, great bodily harm. Anything to the head can be, full trauma. I don't know. It's a tough situation. I don't know.
Yeah, I think whether or not he was supposed to be there was like a huge conversation in this thing. And I know for a fact that was kind of John's biggest gripe with it at first. You, I guess, learned some new fact about it today that kind of changed it a little bit.
I was initially under the impression that his mom drove him up there with the rifle and just dropped him off because he wanted to stop the looting. Today I found out he had spent the entire day cleaning graffiti. He had bandaged somebody's ankle. He was helping put out fires, had helped out put out a few fires. And then in court, the prosecution, what are they calling the guy? Binger? Yeah. Asked him, you say that you were there helping out your community, and I really want to try to find the quote so I quote him properly. The gist is he had said you say you were there helping out your community, and by your community you mean Kenosha. And he goes, yes. Kyle Rittenhouse said yes. The lawyer turned around and said, well, don't you live in whatever town in Illinois it was that he was from? And he goes, my father lives in Kenosha, along with his entire family. That was why he was there. That's his dad's town. So my argument of he had no business there, he didn't live there, kind of went out the window when that came out. And I really want to know why the mainstream media didn't elaborate on that before they just said some kid from Illinois went and shot 3 people in Kenosha.
Well, I think we know why. I mean, this whole thing got spun from the very beginning. Shout out to Corey. I guess he had to drop out, but he said, I'm here in the chat. So I guess he's watching. That's good enough. Go ahead and tag in when you can, Corey. But anyway, this whole thing got spun from the very beginning. And to me, it was similar to what was a cop with the George Floyd thing?
Keegan,
Chauvin, yeah. It was similar to that, where it was so publicized by the start of the thing that, hopefully, I don't know if the jury's going to have, but hopefully they can set aside. It wasn't as big a deal, but it was the same thing where the media had done such a spin on it by the beginning. And I mean, it's one of those, I know it's really not the point of the case, so I've tried to keep my mouth shut about it, but all the people talking about, how he shouldn't have been there. What was he there? I'm like, he's there with a gun and all this stuff. so was the guy he shot. Was there with a loaded
Yeah,
gun? Like that was a whole thing. And with all the stuff going on, the fact that I don't know, I am surprised that this even. I guess not surprised. I don't think it should have even made it this far. Normally, when something happens, like the Chauvin thing again, for example, when that first happened, we've talked about this before. I saw that happen, and I was like, "Oh man, this looks really, really bad." That it looked horrible, the optics. And then later, as more information came out and stuff like that, it was kind of my opinion started to sway on it. I'm like, this isn't as black and white as it looked, from the news right away.
Still pretty black and white.
I've actually never even heard that about him. About his father living there and
Yeah,
stuff. I
either.
thought the whole time that he was never even. But you never heard of that either, Keegan?
No, I didn't know that.
That's
No.
pretty crazy, actually. I never knew that his father. I thought he had just voluntarily chose to go help the businesses himself. Like during that whole process, I didn't watch 100% of it, but throughout most of the day today, in the past few days, it's been live. I've been watching it, and I never even knew that. So that was pretty astounding news that I just found out, and apparently Keegan too.
Yeah, I missed that one too. And that's when he first said that, I was a little bit nervous about just taking that at face value, just because I hadn't heard it. But like we talked about, John was asking. He's
I
like,
saw a video clip where Kyle Rittenhouse himself answered the lawyer and said, "My
Wow.
father lives in Kenosha."
yeah, and when he said, he's like, I don't know why the news won't cover that. I think it's because they have a pretty strong bias.
Yeah.
Thanks, I said setup looks. I'm assuming that's fire. We're not getting the emojis here, but thank you. And Corey's pointing out, he said he got muted and booted. We didn't boot you. I don't know what happened, but anyway, no, I had not heard that either, and was kind of surprising to me. But I've been trying to watch as much of the trial as I could. Obviously at work and stuff, it's I can't have it on live all the time, and that's like I said at the beginning. We're not trying to be journalists. I have not seen the entire trial. I'm sure I missed stuff, but I did see today I guess backing up to initially when they had the Gage Grosskreutz or whatever his name is. The fact that his name is Gage and he's got the gauges in his ears is driving me nuts. It's too easy. But when he said initially, I guess everyone's seen by now. They made the memes of it where they were asking him, so he didn't do anything to you until you were jumping at him with a rifle in your hand. He's like, no, or with a pistol in your hand. He said no. And so he backs up and walks him step by step. He's like, okay, this is him on the ground and this is you. He's like, yes. He's like, and he's got the rifle down, not pointed at you. He's like, yes. Like, and you have a pistol in your hand. And he's like, right. And so they like frame forward and he's like, and now your pistol's pointed at him. He's like, yes. And he's like, and this is when he shoots. He's like, yes. Yeah.
Is he a felon?
He had said,
That Gage guy, does anybody know?
What about him?
I don't know.
Was he a felon? I don't know if that was just circulating on Facebook or.
I think he's the only one of the three guys shot that was not a felon. I think he had a misdemeanor. I think the other two were felons. I think the Grosskreutz guy was just
he had a
misdemeanor.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe that I had read somewhere that he had a CCW that had just expired.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he's also the one though that I guess when they asked him about if he had a live round in the chamber, he had previously said he's like, yeah, every day when I leave, it's phone, wallet, keys, pistol. But when they asked him if he had a loaded round in the chamber, he's like, I don't remember. No, we can have the debate all day whether you carry a live round in the chamber or not. I say you do, and you should.
I say you don't.
Yeah,
Because
well,
even though you've got a loaded pistol, that one round out of the chamber, that racking it back gives you a second to think about what you're about to do.
well, all right.
Or it could be that second that you don't get to think about it.
But regardless, whether you do or you don't is a discussion for another day. But who the hell doesn't know what you do, though? I mean, it's almost one of those, you're in one camp or the other, but everyone knows whether you do or not. And he's like, I don't know. Like, okay.
Well,
I
didn't
believe
that one kid testify that he cleared the gun after he dropped it? And then they found them.
a live casing.
Yeah, like it was still good to go on the ground.
Yeah, but
So,
I think the whole point of that argument was just to show there's no way he carries every day. Like he's saying he carries every day, but he doesn't recall whether he leaves one in the chamber or not.
Right.
So no, he brought the gun to that event, which again I think he has every right to do.
Right.
But when you pointed at a kid on the ground who's holding an AR-15, you're
Who
probably going to
just-
lose your bicep.
Who was just shooting 2 people that attacked him. I mean,
Yeah,
hey, you don't run at the kid that just shot somebody, not expecting him to either shoot back or you to have to shoot.
well, and that's one of my biggest complaint or like biggest things about it is I heard I loved at one point the defense attorney basically said he fucked around and found out, like the most casual, simple way possible. He's like, so yeah, they came at him and they said you won't do shit, and he did. Like, yeah, that's basically how
Now
it goes.
here's something else about Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was the first one that,
Right.
and the one that was screaming at him, "Shoot me, shoot me, shoot me." That day, he had. Let me see. I just read it. Yeah. Yeah. During the day, Rittenhouse was helping clean graffiti off of a school. That same day, Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, is released from a Milwaukee hospital where he had been admitted after a suicide attempt. So I think he just saw somebody with a gun and went, "I'll get him to do it," and that way I didn't actually do it myself.
Even if he's not, people say death by cop, but even if it wasn't that kind of scenario, it's really hard to claim that it's somebody who's being serious or being careful, who's not just being reckless with who cares what happens. This prosecution, it's one of those. I'll put it this way: during the 2020 election, everyone was so sure Trump was going to win, and I'm like, I'm not so sure, guys. It's the same thing. Like everyone in my circles, obviously, with the gun community and everything, is like, there's no way he's in trouble for this. He's going to walk free. I'm not so sure, just because I've been shocked before. I don't want to count the eggs before they hatch. But like I said, I didn't even think it should have gone to trial, and then the prosecution's done such a horrible, horrible job. I mean, besides the kid running the where they had to walk him through. Yeah, he didn't shoot you until you pointed a gun at him. There was also the in the last few days. So the thing that I heard today, I the most that I watched of the thing was today, and there was they were talking about, I guess, the first guy, Rosenbaum, and I guess he was walking through the list of shots that he received. So they played the video where Rosenbaum's running at him, throws the plastic bag, and of course the prosecutor's pointing out, he's like, it's a clear bag with nothing in it, as if when you're running away from somebody, that's you're checking that out too close. He just knew he threw something at him. But he said the first shot, I guess, hit him like in the waist and fractured his pelvis. And he makes a point, he's like, at this point, he's no longer a threat. In any training that I've ever heard, is not like take a shot and see if they're still if they're still coming at you. No, that's not the end of it. And so he got one in the pelvis. He said the second one hit his hand, and I guess it was hard to see on their court TVs, but I guess it hit him in the left hand. He's holding his hand up, and in the videos it looks clearly to me like he's trying to grab Rittenhouse's rifle, but he got shot in the hand. They said it was so close proximity, he had gunpowder residue on his hand. So super, super close proximity. And it went like in between his ring and middle finger and then out the back of his wrist. And so the prosecutor makes the point. He's like, they're going to try to spin it like he's trying to grab the rifle. But that's not the way you grab a rifle. And I was like,
who grabbed a rifle like that? Like, what kind of...
Well, if you're running at someone, you just put your hand, like, it's just such a, and both people are moving. It's just such a stupid argument to me. Like, that's not how you grab a rifle. How do you grab a rifle that someone's pointing at you? Like, there's no right way to do that. It's just a like goofy thing.
You don't.
And then I guess the third shot is the one that grazed him on the side of the head, which is not the one that killed him, which is news to me too. I thought that was kind of the kill shot is what they were calling it. But I guess that one grazed his head. And then again, they kept saying that he shot him in the back was the kill shot. He had one in the left, like, shoulder. And so in the back.
Didn't they have a doctor that testified against that though? That it wasn't like directly in the back.
They said it hit kind of in the back, but the exit wound was like down by his hip.
Right. Yeah.
And so
That's how
He
bullets
was
travel.
falling forward.
he was falling, and the prosecutor said he was trailing him as he was already going down. He didn't need to do that. And the third shot, or the fourth shot's the one that killed him, the one that hit him in the back and exited through the hip. And you didn't need to do that. Now, again, I've never heard of anyone who's like, just take a shot and see if they're still going, and then take another one.
That's
No, if you're stopping a threat, you're stopping a threat. And I'd be shooting until they hit the ground. But like the defense pointed out, that like he could have just like he was lunging at him. So again, he took one to the hand, he's coming forward, and one through the shoulder and exits out the hip. So it was probably a combination. He was probably falling at the end of a lunge. I mean, regardless, to me, and they kept pointing out that this guy's unarmed. Okay, again, to me, if you're unarmed and you're rushing somebody holding a rifle, I don't know what.
You only have one plan. If you are unarmed and you're charging someone with a rifle, what plan do you have except to take his gun?
Exactly.
I mean,
was that Rosenbaum or Huber?
That was
okay.
Huber was the one with the skateboard, right?
Yeah.
Or,
he's the other one who was killed because Groskowitz is the one who was testifying.
had
That's
his
bicep boy.
vaporized.
I love the way he said that. Like,
I know, he tried to, like,
victim.
clean
He's like,
it
yeah,
up.
it looks like my bicep being vaporized. Like,
It's like it was, motherfucker.
as tends to happen. Yeah, that was ugly. And so, yeah, the second guy. So to me, first one justified. Like you said, I mean, if you're running at me with a rifle and I'm retreating from you, he's running away. The guy keeps coming. He's catching him fast. You know, I mean, when you watch that video, I had forgotten how quick he was like catching up to him. Like you said, you got no plan other than to take the guy's weapon. What else happens? And so, yeah, like Ty's point out here, he said this all happened so fast. So I'd love to see the reactions in the same situation. Amen to that. I mean, that's the other thing. They keep playing this video. It's the same thing they do in. You see it a lot in police-involved shootings, but anything where they frame by frame, and they even do it in sports a lot of times. Like when they do that in sports, and they're like, see, he should have done this. It's like you're seeing this frame by frame. Do you realize how fast this is actually happening? But so anyway, so to me, the first one's completely justified. Rosenbaum, done. I mean, what else happens? The second guy, I mean, again, like I said, we're not breaking down every little detail of this entire thing, but the second guy, chase him down the street, they're throwing stuff at him. The defense made a great point. You know, it's not like he's shooting everyone who comes in his direction or anything. You know, like
Right.
They brought up what you play Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
Because that equates to real life. But yeah, it's not like he's.
Man, I'm a huge Call of Duty player.
Do what?
I said I'm a huge Call of Duty player, man. Sorry, I had to go for a sec. My boss called me, but
Oh, you're good. But anyway, yeah, we decided basically the first one was completely justified. That one's out. I mean, here's Ty again. He said, I saw something today that said he unloaded 4 rounds in 0.75 seconds. Not sure how true that is, but yeah, it's a good point.
you know, yeah, I actually have a point with this. I heard actually the prosecution questioning him about how many rounds he shot at the people, and he goes, well, after the first round, wouldn't you have thought he was immobilized at that point? I mean, that's not the exact words, but that's pretty much what he said.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm saying.
my whole point is, if it's so, he's like, well, you fired off 4 rounds very fast. Like, if you go, like, literally, if you go boom, 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 like, there's no fucking way for you to know, like, how he felt on the first shot.
Let me stop and see how each one affected you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
like, there's no way to stop and think about that for 2 minutes and analyze, oh man, his pelvis is shattered and he can't get up, like, or whatever it is. I mean, I'm not trying to, obviously it's a very weird situation. There's just no possible way within that time frame that could be thought of like that. Like, I feel like they just had so many like inconsistencies in what they were talking about. Like, they just had no idea what they even meant in a way. Like,
well, I don't know. We've talked about this on our podcast before, and I'm generally very pro police, but the thing that gets me is every time there's like it's always kind of the rhetoric when there's a police involved shooting is if someone like reaches at their pocket and the police officer shoots them, it's all this like you see the videos like which one's a fake gun and which one's a real gun. Like what look how fast you have to react. Just because it's a civilian, it's almost like that whole thought goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Like
not only that, how many videos have you seen? I'm sure, I mean, you can pull them up on YouTube right now of police involved shootings where the cop will shoot, hit the target, and the guy is still charging him.
Oh yeah,
tons of times.
Like hundreds of times.
I actually watched one today where the cop got beat down with like a guy with an AK. I don't know if you guys have seen that one over the past couple of months, but
no, I have not. That sounds brutal.
Ugh.
Well, I mean, no, his friends ended up saving him because there was two of them, thank God. But
yeah,
the one guy would have gotten beaten down.
They should always be in pairs, is my opinion. Like it's unrelated to the Rittenhouse thing, but yeah, there's just never a need for them to be.
It's such an advantage if they're in pairs, always.
Yeah, but anyway, so Rosenbaum done. They chase him down the street. He's not shooting everyone that goes down the street like they make it sound. They called him an active shooter today. They use the phrase active shooter.
It actually,
that's kind of a.
And this came out a few weeks ago. It said that Rittenhouse walked toward the police car with his hands up, rifle slung across his body. Police order him to get out of the way. One of them pepper sprays him. Then they drive off, believing the active shooter was elsewhere. So they even believed he was an active shooter back months ago.
I guess if there's just constant rioting and you hear that many gunshots, I mean,
he wasn't the only one shooting.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, there were other shots, and you can hear him when he's running away down the street after he gets back up, after getting hit with the skateboard and shooting the other two. Once he gets back up, you can hear there's a barrage of bullets just going down the street.
Yeah, so I honestly wouldn't be surprised if people thought that there was a shooting going on. You know, like imagine if you were like 3 blocks over, all you hear is just a bunch of shots. You don't know what's going on, really.
Right.
Didn't so I understand it off as like fireworks or something.
Yeah,
I did hear about that. I heard them say that. Yeah.
He was saying it was just fireworks from the protests or something like that.
Yeah, they said it could have been that. I think they were questioning him, and they were like, "Could those explosions have been fireworks?" And he was like, "Yeah, there was fireworks that night, so it very well could have been."
Who lights off fireworks when there's protests?
This seems like a good night for those extra bottle rockets.
Yeah. I have some over here, actually. You want to see some?
So the second group, after he gets whacked with the skateboard, again, to me, they were discussing, I forget exactly how, we were talking before the show started. Every state kind of defines things differently. But, one of the terms or the exact definitions they were using was self-defense. And it's if you believe there's imminent bodily harm, or I forget how they word it. Getting whacked on the skull with a skateboard kind of justifies as bodily harm to me. I mean, I can't imagine it's nice. I've never had it. So again, guy swinging the skateboard at him, and he only took one shot, didn't he? Does anyone know any different?
Yeah, I think it was one right in the chest.
I think he just hit him once in the chest. I think that was the only one.
My thing is how the prosecutor kept trying to bring up. He was like, "You didn't have a knife. You didn't have a bludgeon. You didn't have this and that." And it's like, so you're telling me like you can't kill someone with a fucking skateboard, hitting them in the head with it? It's like that's the same thing as, I mean, a wooden bat, a wooden skateboard. Like you're telling me like, obviously a bat has more, but like you can still do just as much harm with a fucking skateboard.
If you get, I'm trying to think of a spot that wouldn't suck other than hitting flat with like the part of the board, the wheel. What I don't know what they call them, the metal trucks. Yeah, the metal trucks under there, the edge of the skateboard, like
either way though, like I mean, taking that to the head, like what if he got knocked out on the ground? Then everybody's attacking him on the ground, taking his gun. What are they going to do?
His gun is sitting right there. Yeah, I know it almost sounds counterintuitive to the argument, but when you have a loaded rifle, that the guy with the skateboard, they actually showed, I didn't even realize this, but when they showed it frame by frame, the guy was yanking at the rifle from him. Like you can see at one point he's got it shouldered and the guy grabs it by the barrel and is pulling it, and it like starts to get ripped away from him.
And that's the guy he shot through the hand, right?
No, that was the second. That was the
Okay.
first guy, the one through the hand. The guy that started. Well, that guy reached for it, and then
Yeah.
the second guy got a hold of it and started pulling on it, and that's when he shot him through the
Gotcha.
chest. And then the last one to me, and the only one that's even the closest one to questionable in my mind is the last guy, the Groskowitz guy, who is going to have to sign everything left-handed now. But it's the same thing. That guy started to back away. So Kyle pulls his rifle up. The guy puts both hands up and takes a step back. He lowers his rifle, and then the guy like lunges at him. And that's where they did the frame by frame. Points his pistol at him, and I remember as soon as that happened, like the next day, there were memes about like what crazy ass like how everyone's always saying like to cops, like, why don't you just shoot him in the knee so they can stop, but you don't have to kill him. And it's like, do you realize what crazy ass accuracy that takes? And then here this kid takes his bicep out.
Not only that, hitting somebody in the knee, if you're aiming at the leg and you hit the femoral artery, it's going to have the same effect as,
but slower.
Yeah, and more painful.
Yeah, I heard
messier.
I've heard someone describe this as triggers and switches. So a switch is like the heart, the brain, you're out quick. And then there's triggers, and that's where it can be 10 to 30 minutes.
Yeah,
that artery is one of those where it's
and it just depends on how open it gets, like it all depends on so much.
You get hit in the femoral artery, you're going to be gone within 3 months.
That one in particular, yeah. But you know what I mean? Yeah, there's slow, painful ones, and that's one of them. But regardless, like I said, not to get super off topic, that's such a horrible thing to try to teach. Like I said, if you're pulling a gun out to stop a threat, you're shooting until you stop the threat. I mean, it's just one of those. You're not taking one shot and being like, "You good? No, another one." Still going?
That's even worse.
And like, what was that guy thinking with the pistol going at Kyle? Like what was he thinking? Like, how come he didn't? And like, I'll be honest, like, how come he didn't just fire shots into him? Like, how could you be so stupid? Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, that just sounds like some really crazy stuff. Like, he comes at him. They talked about it the whole time. Like, he comes at him like this, like with his arm out and with the pistol back here, right before they shot him. Like, I'll be honest, like, man, like, you got to learn what you're doing, man. Like,
well, I'm pretty sure. Oh, sorry. You go.
No, go for it.
Well, I was just gonna say, picking up on Tom said, I know his friend came out on the stand and said, "Oh, I made it all up," blah blah blah. But like, his friend did post that picture with Gage the very next morning and said his only regret was not unloading that whole mag into Kyle or something like that. Yeah, and it's like, I mean, he came out and he's like, "Oh, I made it all up." I mean, of course you're going to say that if you're, standing up for your friend, but
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I wish it would have happened, but I'm just saying that, just for the sake of just everything going on, I feel like that, you know what I mean? Like if that was me in that situation, like Kyle would have been out of it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I would have done that, but I'm saying if I was that guy, in that situation, like there would have been no more of that happening. You know what I mean? It's just it's so weird how everything played out. Like it shows how weird real life is, I think, with all the different stuff that can happen and all the very small aspects of things that cause different things to happen.
Yeah, very true. What are you trying to do?
So what they had said was that Gage was there to provide aid the entire time. Now, he was coming into a situation, he had heard shots fired, saw the bodies laying on the ground, but you got to think, you don't know, did they try to attack him? Was he the aggressor? What happened? He was probably thinking and not verbally shouting, "Drop it, put it down, what's going on," any of that, and instead stopped. He apparently witnesses saw him put his hands up, and up here earlier, what I was reading said Rittenhouse. Where is it?
Yeah, while you look for that, I was going to say, if I gave the benefit of the doubt to anybody, I think he's lying in court. I mean, his story is bullshit. But the Gage dude and the guy with the skateboard, honestly, both of them, if they just hear shots, how do you know what's going on? I mean, it's probably best for them to stay out of it too, because at that point, Kyle's not actively shooting at anybody. He's
running towards police.
Right. There's no threat to stop. But I can at least see where if you think some kid just shot somebody and that's all anyone's yelling is he shot someone, he shot someone. I can see trying to stop him. Now, again, he's not an active threat, and you kind of get what's coming to you by trying to intervene like that. But
here's the thing, though, is if Gage would have unloaded his pistol and killed Kyle right there, he'd be the one defending this case.
For sure.
So, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough argument, I feel like.
It was probably one of those, he ran towards him with his gun drawn, not realizing it was a 17-year-old kid, stopped to rethink the situation, and bye-bye bicep. But it says here, after Huber was shot, Gage, now 27, stops moving toward Rittenhouse, put his hands in the air. He was holding a handgun, and then when Groskowitz resumes advancing, Rittenhouse shoots him, severing most of his bicep. Rittenhouse testified that Groskowitz had his pistol pointed at his head. I didn't see it in the video.
If you rewatch it, like I said, Kyle's on the ground. He shoots the one guy. Groskowitz is standing over him, so he points at him. Groskowitz puts both hands up with a pistol in one, takes a step back. Kyle lowers his rifle, and then the guy jumps back at him and points the right pistol at him. As he raises his gun again and shoots him in the bicep.
See, that's where I was confused, how he went back at him. See, like, that's where I'm talking about. Like, if you're going to do that, you need to commit to it. You know what I mean? Like, that guy, I don't know. Well, he obviously didn't fire any rounds at Kyle, so he didn't commit to it too much.
He admitted that, too, though, because the guy was like,
I mean, I'm just being realistic here. You know what I mean? Like, it don't matter what anyone says. Like,
right.
If that guy would have fired at Kyle, he'd be gone. So it wouldn't, like you said, it would be him defending himself.
And quite frankly, I don't know if he'd be. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to catch up on a couple comments here. Cliff said the only thing that would hurt him is that he put himself in that situation. He could have stayed home like the rest of us. But with that said, I do hope he gets off because he did defend himself. But in the end, he had no reason to be dropped off. And then what's this? He adds to it. We all had a choice to go, but we were taught to not put yourself in those situations.
And we kind of covered that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, on the one hand, I'm all for protecting your community. I mean, I've made that clear before. I know some guys like to carry, but don't like they can be in a gas station and see it getting robbed, and they're not using it to stop it. It's purely for themselves. At the same time, I have no problem. We talked about this before. You said him walking around downtown or in the town with a rifle you thought was, like, in your mind, brandishing it.
Yeah, in my mind, you walking around with that slung across your back, it's brandishing.
Now, see where
I don't see it as an open carry when you're talking about a rifle. A pistol, you wear it on the side of your hip. Your hands aren't on it. It's fine. It's one thing. But the second that it's an AR, fucking 30 rounds, I feel like that's brandishing.
When it comes to the law, though, there is no difference between having a pistol sitting on the outside of your hip or having an AR strapped on your back or something. Right. I know, I get what you're saying totally, but when it comes down to the law, I mean, that's the same, not the same thing, but I mean,
they're both open carrying. I mean, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, they are actually.
To me, being as pro old school Second Amendment as I am, and realizing that it has to do with a militia, to me, that's what a militia is for, is protecting your community when shit's hitting the fan like that. And the biggest problem to me, everyone's saying Kyle shouldn't have been there. I don't know that I would want my 17-year-old son in that position. You know, I don't have a 17-year-old son. I'm hypothetically, as a parent, I would not want my 17-year-old son in that situation. But me growing up, if I knew something like that was going on in a community where I had family or had worked or whatever the situation was.
You mean Ferguson a few years back?
Yeah, that is what I mean. And again, I didn't go down there, but
would you? And if you had gone down there to try to help out, would you have taken an AR with you?
100%.
Serious?
Plate carrier, AR. That's why I have this shit.
Wouldn't have fucking. I think that's what caused it. I think that if he had just been there helping out without it, this whole thing wouldn't have happened. And not because, oh, he couldn't have killed him. They wouldn't have even come at him. They wouldn't have tried to attack him if it wasn't for the fact that he
That could be the case, but
And
why
I-
is somebody attacking an armed person protecting the community? I mean, if you're there to protect the community, why is that the person you target? What does that say about you that that's who you choose to attack?
Yeah, let's say I choose to go open carry down the street right now, and let's say it's legal in my state, and someone sees me open carrying an AR on my back while I'm taking a walk through my subdivision, let's say, and they just decide to take me out. Is that, does that count?
Well,
Was I brandishing? It doesn't seem like,
Even in that
just because I
situation-
have a gun doesn't mean I did it.
Well, even in that situation, there's cases where, I'm not going to lie. I'm Second Amendment all the way. If I see a guy walking down the street just holding an AR slung over his,
yeah.
I'm going to be a little bit like, okay, what the hell's going on here? But like
When
I said,
there's
that wasn't the
riots
case.
and-
It's not like nothing was going on. The city was on fire.
Yeah.
And to me, again, the fact that everyone's like, well, he shouldn't have even been there. The police should have. I mean, in my opinion, they were just letting this whole town burn. No one's doing anything about it. And to me, I don't know what other shit hits a fan situation there is before you go defend it. Now, like I said, I wouldn't have let my 17-year-old son do it. 17, again, in the Constitution with the militia, that used to be the definition as able-bodied men 17 to, I don't know if there was a max age, unless it 45. I don't remember what it used to be, but I remember for a fact 17 was what they considered old enough to be of age for the militia. So again, that's back in the day. 17-year-old kids now are not as mature as they were in the
17-year-old
1790s.
kids who had already been married for 4 years.
But I wouldn't want my son in that situation, but I would for sure be willing to be in that situation. That's I think what the Second Amendment's for, is protecting your community like that. Getting to another comment here, we got John on YouTube said that's why the prosecution had to use the excuse that a handgun is less scary than a rifle. He continues on here. Well, Gage was asking him before he got shot. Kyle told Gage that he was going to the police.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean,
Cliff just went crazy.
Cliff's going off here. I remember the Ferguson riots. Mr. Warren said no fly, no work zone.
Bull! I was up there the day after those riots.
I think his mom dropped him off too across state line. Pretty sure my parents or y'all parents wouldn't have dropped out. That's a good point.
That's true. That's true.
Even if I was willing to go, I guarantee
My mom would have been like, get the fuck back in the bear.
Well, I actually have a situation my dad owns a business in St. Louis County. And whenever all that stuff was going on, man, we were about to take a whole family trip down there and protect our place.
That's different though. I mean, that's family. I mean,
yeah,
I get what you're saying. Because Kyle had no relation to this car source owner, right?
I don't know. I've heard back and forth.
That's what I'm so confused about.
At one point they said no, and then they went back and said yes, they had asked him to. I honestly don't know. It was weird to me that the judge was letting that go back and forth. Like no one was saying objection or that's not, we already covered this. No one said anything. John's back again here, says, here's the thing though, 100 years ago there was way more people open carrying. Those Western movies aren't totally fake.
Yeah, everyone had a rifle slung on their back, man.
Yeah, you wouldn't have thought shit of it then.
Oh, they did, but they were Winchesters.
And we got Anthony here. What's up, guys? What's up? Let's see what else. Damn, John, you put on some.
Damn.
I wouldn't even pull that one up if I could read it. Let's see. Anthony says, I worked every day during those riots. Everything was crazy inside the jail. Everyone was on edge. Yeah,
He's probably scared there's gonna be a riot inside the jail going on after all that stuff, man.
I guess they have pretty easy access to news. I don't know. That's one thing where I feel
Well,
like
they get to watch TV, and I've heard they get tablets and stuff nowadays. Even
yeah, they're on TikTok.
that's true.
Yeah, there is that one dude that's got the meal plan and the workout routine
from jail
on YouTube. Yeah,
nice.
He's got a YouTube channel from jail.
It's funny, man.
But
so
back,
I guess
back to the conversation at hand.
I guess even if he's found guilty, Kyle's chances to go viral aren't over. Could be of TikTok fame.
4 doors, more whores.
Did you guys see that? Do you know what he's talking about?
Was
Four
it?
doors, no whores.
Was he trying to use that against him?
It's
Yeah, they tried to use his TikTok.
Oh yeah, I
No,
saw that.
that's
Like his
his-
username, you mean, right?
Yeah, his username is 4 doors, more whores.
Yeah. I saw that.
But yeah, I like how they try to use that as if like clearly the type of person who would want to kill somebody.
Yeah.
What's Andy says I have TVs in every block with access to Spectrum TV.
They've upgraded.
Yeah, it's not even some shitty TV. It's like actual Spectrum. Like there we go. Like look at that.
Lord. Man.
What's that other YouTube comment?
What's this
Great
one?
TikTok name.
Yeah, I'm proud of him. That's a good. It's nothing I would do now, but damn, if you're telling me that at 17 years old, 4 doors, more whores, that's creative. Well done. I don't know. The whole thing comes down to. It seems like they're making the whole thing down to should he have been there or not. And to me, that's not even on trial. Again, in my opinion, as my kid, no, but as me now, 100%. But I don't know. Like you guys in a situation now, is that something you would stay a mile away from, or?
Me personally, just from everything that I've learned throughout the classes I've taken, I would definitely just stay the fuck home. I don't think it's really worth going through what Kyle's going through right now. I'm not saying anything about what he did that night is right or wrong, but I am saying I don't personally think it's worth it. I don't think it would have made a difference if he was there or wasn't there. I mean, if he wasn't there, the same shit still would have happened, you know? And,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he made that much of a difference being there.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, whenever you look at this stuff going forward, I mean, you're looking at this, and I mean, personally, I don't think I would want to be there either. I mean, I'd probably be at home, to be honest. Like I'd love to be there, you know, like if it was like my family's business, like I told you, like in St. Louis County, like whenever all the Ferguson stuff was going on.
Right.
If it was something like that, I think I would go like actually to the business and then like stay at the business, you know, and just make sure people didn't destroy that. But as long as I don't think I would have, you know, ventured very far from there if I did go help in a way. But I think I agree with Keegan. You know, whenever you look at this stuff, I haven't been to any CCW classes, but you know, I've watched tons and tons, like almost like 500 hours almost of CCW videos on YouTube anyways. And man, it's just like, I would think like in the end, like you just have to stay home, you know, like if you know, I'm not saying that Kyle's guilty because he didn't stay home, but in my situation, I would stay home.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant. Yeah, like I don't tend to go looking for trouble, and I agree. Yeah, like you brought up Ferguson. The whole reason I was nowhere near there, I don't live there. It's not my. It's kind of my local community, but that's not, you know, my street or anything going on. So yeah, and that's. I mean, The point I've always heard about concealed carry, like I know some people carry sometimes, and they're like, you know, if I'm going to a rough neighborhood or something, I'll pack it on me. The thing I don't like about that is if you feel like you're going somewhere where you need something and you wouldn't otherwise, maybe just don't go there. And I think this is the same situation, just blown up, you know, like just to a bigger degree where you're open carrying a rifle and stuff like that. But at the same time, if this stuff was going on up the street, like I said, to me, that's what the Second Amendment's for. And getting to one of the comments here, actually, I mean, he's got a few here. We got the Super K-Pill on YouTube. He didn't realize that makes Kyle more likable. I agree 100%. Yeah. They did that with their whole prosecution, everything they said about him.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking that too, like, man.
But he did say I'd stay far away. The cops should have shut those riots down. If I was 17, I would have gone, I think. That's a good point. Again, I mean, not that it makes it any better, but it is kind of a young, naive kid. I mean, we're kind of looking at this through more, mature eyes now, you know, knowing to stay away. Again, my problem is more with the parent at that point. It's like I can see being a kid, being amped up, ready to go. I wouldn't have dropped my kid off. But again, that's not part of the trial, though. That's not what's the question here.
And my original stance before I found out that his father actually lived in Kenosha, I honestly thought that his mom should be brought up as an accomplice or for aiding and abetting as a collaborator.
If anything, I would say endangerment of a child, if nothing else.
But she should have been brought in as well knowing that his father lives in that town, now kind of want to draw that back because that isn't the case. He actually did belong in Kenosha in some form.
Well,
Cliff says here they'll probably have a mail-in verdict to find him guilty. And we can't talk about mail-in things because we're live on YouTube right now, but I'm tracking. And then Super K-Pill's back. Maybe the mom didn't realize what a war zone it was. That could be too. And then John Greenback on air. His background of being around police and firefighters made him more likely to go. He was around first responders every week. That's a good point too. Yeah, I mean,
he did say he wanted to go because of that stuff. He had medical knowledge, and he said he wanted to go be a medic for people, and he did apparently help people that day, from what I've heard.
That's the other thing too. He wasn't dressed up like a Call of Duty character, like just looking to fuck people up. I mean, he's doing other stuff there too. It seems like he wanted to be involved, not necessarily be some kind of war fighter, but wanted to be involved, cleaning stuff up, helping people, all this stuff. What was his medical training? I heard, I know he was claiming to be an EMT, and they said he's not actually an EMT. What was it? But he did have some kind of medical training.
See, I didn't hear that was him. I heard that was Gage Grosskopf.
I think he was an EMT or something.
No, he was an EMT, but then he never actually finished. He decided to go back to school for liberal arts or something. I believe that's true.
Keep in mind, they make you take that. I was just in college. They literally make you take liberal arts if you go. I actually dropped out because I refused to take it.
So I'm not sure if this is true or not, but according to azcentral.com, which I guess is Arizona, Kyle Rittenhouse says on witness stand that he is studying nursing at the Arizona State University.
Okay. I mean,
not that he's an EMT by that, but
yeah.
I mean, I guess that gives him way more knowledge than me. I'm not enrolled in fucking.
Yeah, I mean, at basic we had combat lifesaver site. Did you guys do any of that?
CLS, yes.
Okay, yeah,
a lot.
Yes, I mean, at basic we did a touch of it, but I'm sure he knows more than I do. And he was checking on was it Rosenbaum after he hit the ground? He was checking on him, getting his phone out, calling 911. They were making that a point too, if he was there to be an EMT, why wasn't he? Why is he shooting people and running away? Because of the angry mob threatening to kill him. I don't know.
If he would have stayed there, he might have had to shoot 5 more people because they probably would have all started attacking him or something.
Yeah, that's when they're like, you have a duty to retreat, is what the prosecutor kept saying. It's that's what he was doing when he was running up the street, you jack off. We got Jabba here says, I'll say this, that the prosecutor probably loses his job after this court case. Dude, even if they win, he should lose his job. He's been a clown. It's been bad.
Yeah, there's no way that they're going to win this one, man. If they do, I don't know what to even think. It would blow my mind, to be honest.
Well, that's the implications of this case, is it could be used later as what is self-defense? What's the word I'm looking for?
What are the grounds for self-defense? What are the limitations of
precedent? This sets a precedent for what is considered self-defense. And that's what's so scary to me is, like I said, once the video surfaced the next day, in most cases, I'm always willing to see, wait and see what happened with the George Floyd thing. Wait until the court case. With all of these, I'm like, wait until it goes to court. Let's wait till we see all the evidence. When I saw, when I saw the video the next day, I'm like, what else do you need to see? There's an angry mob chasing him and trying to take his rifle. I mean, clear as day. Unless he's yelling something that's not getting picked up on a mic, I don't know how this isn't self-defense. And that's what's so scary about it, is something that should be this clear cut, in my opinion, isn't. And like I said, if what they were going to court over was, having a rifle at that age there, which I guess they cleared him on, or, if it was anything to do with that, but what they're charging him with is what scares me. Super K Pill says Binger should at least be held in contempt. Precedent. Yes, that was a word I was looking for. John is back. Binger is more competent than Krause. Google boss, baby. That's Krause. The defense was horrible too, and people are getting so butthurt that this judge is kind of laying it on the prosecutor when he needs to. He's the only one in the room that's really even trying to defend the kid. I mean, his defense has been horrible too, I think. But
I like the bald guy better.
Yeah, he's the one who was doing the face palm when the guy basically admitted that he didn't get shot until he pointed a pistol at the kid's head. And as horrible a statement as that is, the optics of the prosecutor sitting there, I'm like, don't do that. You can think that, internalize it. Don't do it. That looks so horrible. But I honestly think the kid's defense hasn't been great either. I mean,
I like, Banger. Keep screwing up the guy's name. He pretty much made it sound like Rittenhouse should have used hollow points at one point.
Oh, because they explode?
Yeah.
No,
I heard all about this one.
But he was like, but now you've got these rounds that are cutting through the people you shot and could hit somebody else. It's like, did you really want him to use hollow points in that situation?
Could you imagine if he did?
Yeah,
How
he would
much
have been
more
all
harder
over
they
him.
would have been on him.
Yeah, he would have been like, you chose those because they do more harm. Like, obviously.
Well, that's exactly like when he brought that up. First of all, it had nothing to do with Kyle's face when they brought up. He's like, the hollow points are designed to explode inside the animal. Like, let's say a deer, they enter and explode in the body of that animal, right?
No, I don't.
He just looks like, what in the hell are you talking about? But,
Man, it's honestly hysterical how they talked about those bullets. I'll be honest. The judge stepped in. He's like, guys, like, I don't think either of you guys know what you're talking about at all. He's like, first off, there is exploding bullets, and second off, I think you meant expanding, sir. There was, I mean, man, like, how do you not even know like fundamental ballistics? And you're gonna bring it up? Like, come on, man. Like,
nothing irks me more than when I see, like, people have been doing it on this case. I saw it yesterday, and I can't comment, or else it's just one of those things. There's so many things to tear apart. I'm just gonna leave it alone, But when people comment on stuff on Facebook and they're like, he's going across state lines with a fully automatic weapon. But the thing is, I understand that there's a lot of ignorant people in general. But the process, I'm like, you can't do your homework at all. Like,
this whole case seems like an incompetent defense and an incompetent prosecution.
The prosecution is definitely worse, but the defense hasn't been great either, I don't think.
Like, it seems like the judge is fighting both sides of the case. He's the best defense, and he's probably the best prosecution that Rittenhouse has.
Yeah, I saw him actually kind of going like with the prosecution today a little bit. He was like, I think you're right about some stuff, but then he would kind of, veer off a little bit more.
We got Ty here says you can't do anything right. Hollow or FMJ.
That's true.
Yeah, 100% damned if you do, damned if you don't. I would rather use the FMJ, and not like it looks less like you were trying to hurt people.
That's what I'm going to do rounds there.
Jabba Butterfingers says, I'm going to say this. If a guy with an assault weapon around his chest, I ain't messing with that guy. People lacking common sense. Or have a death wish.
Which could have been Rosen.
Apparently, literally. Ty says the judge also said they aren't guaranteed to stop in their target. Which, again, if the guy doesn't know the difference between hollow point and full metal jacket, I don't expect him to know that.
Well, you can tell just by the way, whenever you grab that AR, I guess the one that Kyle actually used. Did you see that video when he grabbed it and pointed it up?
And he had his finger on the trigger, right?
Pointed at everybody. Like,
yeah.
So this is what he did. And
exactly. Yeah.
He's Super K Pill says Cross claimed there's no such thing as left-handed guns. I don't know what the left-handed gun had to do with it, but I did see him holding that up, and someone was like, "You can't shoot it left-handed, or it'll shoot hot brass in your face." Do you think no one ever shoots a left-handed AR? I mean, it's a downfall for sure, but
yeah,
I saw like 5 seconds of that little spot. I didn't know the context or anything.
I think the defense was just trying to claim that he wouldn't have held it in his left side because of the hot brass.
Who, Kyle or someone else?
Yeah, no, the Kyle side. Whenever he was up doing his closing argument, because he was rebutting what the prosecutor said, because the prosecutor was trying to make it sound like he had it on his left side from the video, but the video wasn't very clear. And I think the defense was just trying to say he wouldn't have done that because of the hot brass flying in his face. And especially the way, because like it's not like he was sitting there like with it ready to aim and stuff. Like he was definitely in an awkward ass position. And
sorry, go ahead.
No,
I saw that it was a defense saying that, and that's why I cringed a little bit, because he was almost making it sound like you can't shoot it left-handed. And like I said, I didn't know
Yeah.
the context, but I was like, oh shit, don't start that.
I think he was more just rebutting what the dumbass prosecutor said.
John Creamer says, I know it was checked, but Binger pointed his gun at the jury with his finger on the trigger. It was crazy. The gun, not his gun. Yeah, that's what John just showed me the picture. I love how when they're talking about how reckless and dangerous this kid
They're
was,
just like,
he flags the whole courtroom with his finger on
It was kind of ironic there.
Steve Glickard here says it's okay to cross the southern border, but not the Wisconsin border.
That is, hey, you can
That's a
make that
different
argument too.
subject there.
They're even getting paid $450,000 to do it nowadays, right?
Without a COVID test.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Good times. Yeah, I don't know. When are we expecting a verdict? Do we have any idea? I right before we started, I had the live stuff on. They were doing the closing arguments, and I thought it was over, and then they went back.
Let me go back.
I heard that there was already rioters threatening that they're going to do the same thing again if they don't convict Kyle like tonight. And I think there's like 500 National Guard troops in Kenosha right now.
I heard about the
That's
National
true.
Guard.
Oh, is he being charged in Kenosha?
Yeah.
Because he turned himself into the.
Yeah,
because the
I
police
think
told
the
him to get the
police
hell out of
station
here.
sounds
Go
like-
home.
I think it's all state charges. So yeah, it's all in Kenosha County. But I don't know. To me, when they threaten to do it again, that's bold talk for a kid with a 3.0 KD ratio.
It looks like they just pulled them all back into.
Oh man.
Yeah, like Cliff points out here, a judge dropped a charge today. That was the
gun
firearm charge. I did
yeah.
see
But
that.
that is kind of scary to me because I honestly thought whenever this whole thing started, like if that was a charge that he was going to get, that was going to be the one.
Right.
But now that it's not even an option, it's kind of just like, oh shit.
Oh, you think they're still going to want to get him on something?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a professional in this at all,
Right.
but whenever because that was kind of my whole thing is like if he does get convicted on anything, it's probably going to be an underage, blah blah blah. But then once they dropped that, I was like, oh okay, well now that's not even an option.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, hopefully they just drop it. I know it was one of those things that kind of sounded like it fell in a legal gray area. What was it? They said like something with hunting season, like you can have it during hunting season then, and they're like, well, he wasn't hunting, and they're well, that's not what the law says. It doesn't have to be
He
hunting.
could have been.
I don't. Well, he was hunting.
He hunted.
Well, he wasn't hunting, I guess, is the defense here, but you know, yeah. But the biggest point to me, and they keep bringing this up, is if to me this should highlight what what a good equalizer or weapon is. I mean, Kyle was 17 years old. He's got guys in their 20s, 30s. I don't remember exactly how old they each were, but he's
I know
able
one
to.
of them was like 36.
Can you just imagine? Say he got Rosenbaum, had the rifle, but got Rosenbaum, but did lose his rifle somewhere along the way. What that crowd would have done to him? I mean, that's the only way that he gets out of that situation alive is with a rifle, or a firearm of some kind. And that to me, that just shows what a good equalizer that is. If anything, it highlights the importance of it. And like I said, whether he should have been there or not, you could debate that.
That's like past the argument now. I mean,
Right.
I know I said that in the opening, but when it comes down to it, like that's not even like you said about the trial anymore. Like
Right.
he was there, so were the rioters. They were all there for the same purpose.
And really asking the question, should he have been there, is a moral question. It's not a legal question.
Right.
Of course, he had a right to be there. I mean, again, carrying the gun, I like I said, it sounded like it fell in a legal gray area, but yeah, as Super K Pill points out here, no one should have been there. Which, like I said
It
at
was
the
a
very
curfew.
beginning of this,
They broke the law.
is a great example. They're like, why was he there with it? Why were people there burning down buildings? You know, and again,
Yeah.
plenty of other firearms there, which
Clearly,
again, I'm not saying I'm okay with all the looting and burning, but I know when when the George Floyd riots were going on and they had like the militia there and all these people armed. Like I said, most of the time I just have to leave it alone on Facebook, but there were posts they're like, if you have a problem with this picture, and it was like a bunch of, what were they calling it? Like the Black something
Panthers.
militia or something.
Was it the Black Panthers?
Maybe it was something real similar. They had some kind of club going, and they all had rifles. And like, if you have a problem with this, but not this, and it showed like a bunch of armed white people, I guess was the point. And I'm like, who's? I don't have a problem with the other one. Like,
No, I think both are cool.
right? Like, yeah, arm up.
Other than they shot their own people, but I don't know if you heard about that.
Clicker's got a question. Fire away, dude. Cliff says, I think we should make a Kyle statue since they made one for the actual criminal.
A
A little too soon.
I don't know. I've seen plenty of it was a Halloween costume. That's why someone did a Kyle Halloween costume. They had like the green shirt and the fanny pack, and they were wearing like the latex gloves and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Steve says, if somebody is holding an AR, do you chase after them?
No.
That's what we were talking about earlier. I kind of think
No.
whoever did that, like I said, the defense attorneys delicately said, fuck around and find out. Like he wanted to see what happened, and he did. I said he'll be signing stuff left-handed now. No, I don't think he charged somebody with an AR. Especially
Or any firearm.
like we talked about this earlier.
give a fuck if it's a high point.
If you're holding a Glock.
Yeah.
Not that he should have done anything to Kyle, but why do you run at him? Like, what a stupid thing to do.
Why did he lunge at him after he started to lower his rifle? Like at that point, you could have calmly talked, discussed it.
Or just let him keep running.
What happened?
I'm going to give him the same benefit of the doubt that I would give Kyle. The adrenaline has to be going crazy. So I don't expect you to solve something like, let's talk about this. In the middle of
Everybody pause. Everybody pause.
And I'm not going to let him get away with it and then lunge at. Like that's the only thing I could think of.
Which is, and my argument would be clear right to self-defense. If that was Gage's, mindset. I mean, either way, he did pull that pistol out with a loaded chamber, pointed at Kyle, and then game over. But, I mean, that's clear as day self-defense.
In my mind, I always do this where I relate things to movies. Like movie quotes just jump into my head all the time. You guys remember in We're the Millers, there's like the huge giant guy, and Jason Sudeikis' character like punches him in the face. The guy's just fine. And it's like, why are we fighting? That's how I picture the Gage dude. He shoots his friend and he just steps back like, why are we fighting? Like, let's just talk this out. John Cream says, would you charge somebody who's carrying a machete? Again, no. In fact, I'd be less likely to.
Yeah.
We've talked about this
be
before.
So scared.
Knives and cuts, there's no getting around. Those are
Steven ever ask that
serious shit.
question?
Yeah, he said if somebody's holding an AR, why do you chase after them? No, we've talked about this before. Honestly, if someone was gonna hurt me with a weapon, I'd take getting shot because at least it seems quick. There was that news story about the kid who shot the burglar with a bow and arrow. Did you guys hear about that one?
No, I have not, but I need to. I need to.
It was like a month and a half.
That was in
ago,
Jeffco, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
This kid was out hunting, and I guess there had been reports of people stealing trailers and stuff in the area. So his kid's out hunting, and he sees this guy like unhooking his, I think it's dad's trailer or something. Like somebody he knew this guy wasn't supposed to be there. He's unhooking the trailer. So he calls his dad, and he's like, hey, get down there. The dad comes down there. They're confronting each other and stuff. And I guess the would-be burglar started charging at the kid, and he draws his bow and shoots this guy with an arrow. He ended up dying, but I'm like, how gruesome getting shot with an arrow. That seems so. What a mind fuck that would be while you're bleeding out.
Can you imagine you look
like
down and you're
15?
like, you see a big arrow like coming right out of your chest, like all the way out.
God,
Like, man, that would be
That
tough.
kid was only like 15 or something like that.
Yeah, he was a young kid. He was out bow hunting and stuff. And again, it's not like he just saw him stealing it and decided to shoot him. He called his dad. His dad got all the way down there. I guess he stopped the guy until his dad got there, and then I guess he started charging the kid. How the hell he got a bow drawn and shot that quick? He's that's some talent. But hey, last I heard, I don't think he's getting charged with anything. Again, I mean, Missouri's
Well,
cool.
Yeah, I mean, from the way you
But,
described it, it sounded like self-defense, but like just like we see with all these trials, there's tons of different stuff apparently.
Well, I guess the only other witness was his dad at that point. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? Could you? I'm not even gonna incriminate anybody.
And it's a
that seems like an
burglar,
easy
so-
story to make up. Like you see someone stealing something, so you shoot him with an arrow, and then call dad and be like, "Oh shit, let's get our story straight now."
Now
We're gonna
that
bring
you
that
say
in.
that, it sounds like a good idea.
But yeah, no, I would not charge somebody with a machete. Knives are. I've watched videos of guys like train like close hand-to-hand combat with knives and stuff. Dude, there's almost no protection against it. Like unless you really know what you're doing and you get their wrist or something and disarm them.
See, and I was given a piece of advice when I was real young. My father told me, he goes, when you get into a fight with somebody and they draw a knife, do not let that within arm's reach. So you get into a fight with somebody, they draw a pistol, you don't let them out of arm's reach. And if you do, you run like this.
It's a good point. I've heard that before too. Yeah, it's kind of like MMA. Like if someone's a good striker, you want to be close. If they're good on the ground, you want to be far. Like,
yeah,
it's a similar thing. You know what? That actually reminded me though, and I'm so glad it did because I wanted to bring this up at some point. The part that I was able to watch today when the prosecutor was making his closing statements, he was talking about Rosenbaum, the first guy who got shot, and he said. He was talking about why he was there and all this stuff and making Kyle out to be horrible. And he said, we don't know what exactly Rosenbaum was thinking when he did this. But and he's like, and we never will know because Kyle murdered him. You could tell, dude, it was so obvious. He kept trying to slide the word murder in there, like just plant it in people's heads that it was murder. He's like, we're not going to know because he was murdered. But he's like, let's just say he did have malicious intent. He was attacking Kyle. He was going at him with his fists. The same as I'm sure plenty of us have been in this courtroom before. It was a bar fight with fists. You don't use an AR-15 in a fist fight. Like, what kind of argument is that? Again, the guy's like, if he wasn't 30 years old, he was damn close to it, and he's attacking a 17-year-old kid. It's like I was saying earlier. What a good equalizer then. You're going to take a 17-year-old kid in a fist fight?
Yeah, and if I saw a guy in a bar with an AR-15, I'm not going to go up to him and punch him in the head. I mean, that's for sure.
Well, it was just such a stupid argument in my mind. I'm like, this was a bar fight. You don't use a gun. Like, again, no, I'm not looking to fight you. I'm trying to go home.
So Rosenbaum was 36.
36.
Yeah.
Yeah,
20 years older than Kyle.
He was the diddler too, right? He was the one with the child abuse.
Yeah. And then Anthony Huber was 26. I'm not sure how old Gage was.
I love they kept
Gage was
28.
So either way, I mean, at least 10 years older than him.
John says Missouri is pro 2A. They just made it illegal for any state officials from following federal gun laws. I don't know if that's passed. I know we've talked about that before.
It did pass, and it's kind of.
I'm not comfortable enough to do it yet. I'm not ready to put the fun switch on the ARs yet.
They need to fix that law because there's a lot more that goes into it than just fun switches and owning whatever you want. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, we'll have to do another one on that. But no, I heard someone make this point though. It's similar to the states who are decriminalizing marijuana. Like it's still federally illegal, but the states aren't going to do anything about it.
Yeah,
and
if you get pulled over by like DEA, you're still going to get fucked.
If you get pulled, yeah.
But
it's someone made the point though. You remember how Chappelle was talking about how like the LGBTQ community has made such strides so fast compared to the black community? That was kind of his joke. He's like, "What do you guys complain about? Like in 20 years, you got everything you wanted." Did you watch his newest special? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Dave Chappelle?
Yeah,
the newest one.
Newest one, no.
That's basically his
Pretty
joke.
much when everybody tried to cancel him is when I stopped watching.
Fozzie says, "Can I join the live?" Perhaps next time. I have a link I'd have to send you, but yeah, shoot us a message. We've talked about having people on before. We do a podcast all the time on the same channel, the Unsuppressed podcast. We're looking for guests on there, so yeah, shoot us a message. But anyway, it's kind of the same thing. This person was making the point. They're like, marijuana has made such strides in the last few years, while the gun community seems like they're losing rights. And it's like the problem is people who are, want to legalize weed and all this stuff, they're willing to go to jail over it. They're willing to just blatantly do it and not really care. And he's like, that's kind of what the gun community needs to do, is just start being willing to go to jail to do what you think you should be able to do. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I mean, I like with the marijuana stuff. I mean, that's kind of, I'll be honest, like if I had to go to jail over a gun charge, I'd be a lot more upset than if I went to jail over, like, if a cop pulled me over and found me smoking pot in my car or something,
Well, I guess that's the point, is because no one takes it too seriously anymore, like police wise or anything. I mean, like they don't care. It's still federally illegal, but nobody cares. And so, the comment that John left about, Missouri basically making it illegal for, what's it, law enforcement to enforce federal gun laws is the way I understand it.
See, but the other thing is when there's rounds recovered from the victim, they can't even trace those rounds back to a national database to see if they've been used in other crimes to link that weapon to.
What are you talking about? A crime, though? If there's a crime, I'm sure they can do that.
No, they can't. If they do, it's a $50,000 fine per round used. Yeah.
You'll need to expand on this. What do you mean?
The way the law is written, if you use any federal agency to prosecute someone on a gun charge in the state of Missouri, that jurisdiction, every time they do it, is $50,000 fine paid to the...
For not enforcing the laws? Like, that's why they're getting fined?
No, for enforcing the law. For going after that criminal that used that gun, if you use a national database, the federal, the ATF database, you can be fined every time you use it to prosecute somebody here in the state. That is a huge loophole that's in that law. That law, all kinds of stuff from them. They can't do anything.
I wish I knew enough to challenge all this. I don't know.
There's a car with one pistol in it, 4 criminals, and one who isn't a felon, they cannot do anything about it if the guy in the driver's seat says that's my gun and he's the only one that doesn't have any charges against him. And it may not be his.
We've talked about it before. I'm definitely not in favor of anyone who shouldn't have guns having guns. And who actually shouldn't, not who they say shouldn't, because the list is getting a little crazy. But I don't know. You're right. It's a topic for another day. But
yeah, there's a lot that goes into that needs to be discussed.
Fozzie says, "I'm from the UK." I hope I'm saying that right. Fozzie. I'm from the UK. Been following this trial. Rittenhouse should be freed.
It's actually surprising to see.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but I didn't say it.
What's that?
I thought the same thing, but I didn't say it.
No, I agree. Shit, they were talking about UK earlier today. I don't know if this is true. Let us know in the comments, Fozzie. But yeah, like I heard a story. It was a construction worker in his work bag had like a knife in his bag. And because they're not even allowed to have knives there without some kind of permit or permission, they like searched this guy's bag and had a knife in it. And they arrested him and he's like, no, it's for work. And they're like, okay, do you have a license? No? Okay, jail. They don't fuck around over there, dude. And then meanwhile, we're sitting here arguing like, yeah, he shot 3 people with an AR, but they came at him.
How the hell do you cut your steak? You're not allowed to have a knife.
Just don't take it out of the house, dude.
Yeah, I knew some guys from over there, and they said that if you had a gun, you were like part of they said there's like weird like mafia things and stuff over there that like they said there's like weird stuff. Like if you have a gun over there, you're a straight up gangster, you know what I mean? Like an actual one, like not just like a metaphorical like, oh, I'm gangster.
No, like legit.
Like they said if you got a gun over there, you're straight up gangster, man. Like people aren't gonna fuck with you if you got one. Like
that is wild. Yeah, that's if there's any takeaway is we're still in much better shape than other places. Like here, I'm complaining because I have to file to get my suppressor.
Yeah.
Like, I can't have a knife in the street, bro.
And these dudes are running around over in these European countries like with machetes and stuff nowadays, man. Like,
Well,
you know, I hear
still,
of like every month I hear of like a big stabbing spree or something like that.
you're still taking out 20, 30 people
with a knife.
because there's
Yeah.
no one with a gun. Yeah, I don't know. That, again, like I said, that's why this case has such implications. I mean, there's been a lot of cases that I follow, but I don't, really care to do a video on, and I'm not as invested in. But I really don't know if people realize what implications this could have for the gun community. Though, like I said, it really could be used as precedent to set what is considered self-defense.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of trials like this, they go like that, like you said, like those precedents are a big deal, like sometimes you hear of like, almost like the courses of history changing with some of the precedents that have happened in the past.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, here Fozzie answers us. He said, guns are banned here for normal people and knives are not allowed. Yes, we do have lots of knives and machete stabbings. Not too heard about the knife in the bag thing. That was just one particular story I'd heard, but yeah, man, we do have it relatively good here still.
Took the pressure off, but I thought you replied again.
Yeah, it's I don't know. This whole thing's pretty crazy, and like I said, I'm really kind of surprised it even went to trial. Like from what I saw the next day, I really thought it was pretty cut and dry self-defense, but I guess I was wrong.
It's
So where are you at? Like I said, I think we were my biggest question was I thought you might differentiate. I know you told me with his dad being from Kenosha and stuff, it kind of swayed you, but where are you at on this thing? What do you think he's guilty of and innocent of?
I don't know. I still want to know what the reckless homicide is. And like I had said, I thought maybe 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter over actual murder. But at this point, I really...
Okay, reckless homicide is a crime in which a perpetrator was aware that their act creates significant risk of death or grievous bodily harm in the victim, but ignores the risk and continues to act, and a human death results. What a mouthful.
That kind of sounds like... I don't know. Almost sounds like murder, too.
Well, murder, I think, is premeditated, like you planned on killing a person. Reckless homicide, you're aware that it's doing it, but you're just reckless behavior. Let's see. Ty here says that goes to show it's not the gun, it's a person. If they want to do it, they will do it. I guess referring to the stuff in the UK. 100%. I mean, that's kind of been the case, and I think there's a reason it never gets covered when that happens. But yeah, there's been 20, 30 people killed at a time with a machete in the streets. Steve says the only thing he's guilty of is being a dumbass for being there. I think I would call him overzealous, maybe, but yeah, I tend to agree.
See, that's almost murder too. The killing. Oh crap! Touch screens on.
We got second-degree murder pulled up.
Yeah, killing was done impulsively in a time of high emotion.
But it's still planning to kill a person, not acting recklessly, and a person died as a result.
True.
There's so many freaking levels. It's a little crazy. But yeah, no, Steve, we were talking about that earlier, and that's kind of what we agreed on. Is if it was up the street or my street, I'd want to be out there. But I also, I was going to say I have my head on straight, but I guess it depends on who you ask. But yeah, I wouldn't want to. Hell, if I was talking to my kid earlier, even if it wasn't my kid, let's just say something popped off on our street and we were over here. In fact, it was when the George Floyd trials were going on. It was after the initial riots. It was during the trial when they were expecting more riots. And I don't want to name the place, but there was ironically a car dealership around here that somebody knew the owner, and I felt weird that people were talking about it, but they're like, yeah, I know a guy who's into that. And basically we're asking me, like, if it comes to it, would I be willing to go help them protect the place? And I was like, like same thing you. And I was kind of like, we're getting close. I don't know if I want to put myself in that situation or not. And like I said, I realize that's a mature, approach to it. I mean, I'm not a 17-year-old kid, but again, that's my community. That's someone I kind of know, a friend of a friend situation, and I might. But in that situation, say I did choose to go there, and I'm like, yeah, that's what this is for. This is a situation. This is why we have the gear and know what we're, stuff like that. That's what it's for. And I decided to go there. If some 17-year-old kid showed up, like, yeah, my mom dropped me off, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, I wouldn't even want them there even if I was here. Like, it's just, what's it? I think they say like 23, 24, 25 before the male brain is kind of developed. And yeah, when you're 17, man, I don't think you have business being out there. But like I said, luckily that's not what he's on trial for. I mean, I don't think he murdered anybody. I just think he shouldn't have been in the position at all. Let's take a few more chats here. John says, Binger and questioning, you wanted to kill those people. Rittenhouse, I wanted to stop the threat. I could be wrong about the exact wording. He did say something like that, and that was very well put. I'm sure his defense told him that's how to put it, but
yeah.
But that's how we worded it earlier tonight when we were talking about it. Is you're shooting to stop the threat, you stop shooting when the threat's over, and that's my dad used to be a state trooper, and that's always even the same verbiage is you're shooting to stop the threat. You're not shooting to kill somebody. You're shooting to stop the threat, and so that was very well put. Fozzie says he killed in self-defense. People should put themselves in that situation rather than use a narrative like CNN. I like this guy. He knows what's going on over here. Yeah, you can definitely guess sometime soon. Oh crap! I totally lost a thought that I had. Hang on, let's see.
Wait, you had a thought?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was another case where the prosecutor almost made the case for them. Is when he was saying he was guilty, it said he was trying to use the definition. It has to be action that a reasonable person would take. He kept a reasonable person, and then he was kind of referring to the jury, and he's like, "You guys have to think. If you were in that situation, would you be doing the same thing?" And I was like, "Who on that jury is not like, yeah, probably."
Yeah.
So yeah, the prosecutor's like, "Would you really be shooting people too?" And I'm like, if they're actually putting themselves in his situation, you're in a street and people are chasing you down saying, "Get that motherfucker." Swinging skateboards at you, you fall down and they start grabbing your rifle.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you were saying. I wouldn't put myself in that situation.
But putting yourself in that situation is not a crime. It's a bad idea. It's not a crime. That's not what I think that's completely outside of the point. I mean, I could see that it could factor in if it's like you went there for no other reason than to hurt people. Then it's kind of a factor. It's like, okay, why were you there in the first place? Because you planned on doing something like this. But like I said, had he not had his first aid kit, offering first aid to people, putting out fires, scrubbing graffiti, there's pictures of him doing it all. It's not like they're like, that's why I went there. There's pictures of him doing it. He was literally doing it. Not like, I meant to clean up and just didn't get to it. That's what he was doing all night. Let's see.
It's funny to hear that from someone from another country.
I love it.
I missed that.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't want to pull it back up, but CNN, the Young Turks, leftist liberal jokers. C says, I'm sure you probably mentioned it, but if the fucking governor called out the National Guard in the first place, a 17-year-old kid doesn't have to make the decision to be there. This whole thing turns out differently. I tend to agree. If they had called the National Guard. Yes. Yeah, that's a really good point. I thought you said, I read that the first time as she called them in, so he should have been like, time to clear out. No, yeah, if they had taken care of business, that's what, yeah, we did talk about a little bit earlier, is he was doing the job that the adults in the room weren't doing. Like we saw it all last summer where cities just step aside and let people do this stuff. People aren't going to let it happen. And this is exactly what happens. A law enforcement officer should have been in that position, not a 17-year-old kid. Or the National Guard, military. Someone else should have been in that position. And we saw it at Portland specifically all summer. And that was everyone's point of view is eventually people are going to get sick of this and step in and take care of business themselves. And that's pretty much what happened. I mean, really, they're lucky that Kyle was attacked and not just someone pissed off and fed up and deciding to go out there and take care of stuff themselves.
Yeah.
John says, I think this and Chauvin are the first cases where social media is really waking a lot of people up. When you have a live stream of lawyers getting more viewers than mainstream media views. Yeah. It's you would hope so. Like I said, some of the comments I've seen, it's like people didn't even watch it. It's like they're reading a headline. I saw it was today at lunch that I saw someone say something like, he's crossing state lines with an automatic machine gun. He didn't cross state lines with it. That was decided a long time ago. That the whole machine gun, fully automatic machine gun thing. I don't.
Man, I'll be honest. I've talked to a lot of people who have who are, I'll just say, like leftists, liberals, whatever you want to say. I'll be honest. They honestly thought that like I had fully automatic like AR-15s and AK-47s, and dude, they really did. I'm not joking. I mean, these are like people like you even know. I'm not going to name names, but
Sure.
Some of them, they really have no idea, I don't think. And
I've had family ask me why I feel the need to have automatic weapons. And I'm like, well,
it's like, I wish I did.
There's reasons, but I don't have
That's
it.
what I said.
Curtis here says it's like they're only seeing stuff on TikTok. You know what? It's funny because it is like that, but I think that's actually the case.
Yeah.
And the amount I don't know. Sometimes I want to believe these are all bots. I know people are like, there's a bunch of bots trolling people. I wish that was the case, but I really think there's just a bunch of morons who.
A lot of that really is people.
Can you guys remember, like, before you even got into guns, like how ignorant you were about firearms?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my dad was a state trooper, and I
that's
always
true,
liked
true.
military type stuff and stuff like I always thought it was cool. But so I wouldn't say I was. I didn't. Okay, I guess that's a good way to put it. There was a lot of stuff I didn't know. I didn't even know what I didn't know, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, I wasn't pretending to have the strong opinion about it either. And that's what's almost so frustrating is I would say almost maybe it's because it's the one I'm invested in, but it feels like everyone has such strong opinions about firearm stuff. And it's irritating as someone who has put in so much time and research. Like we say on our podcast all the time, when something comes up that I don't know about, I'm like, I really don't have a strong opinion on this. Like I kind of feel this way in general about it, but I don't have a strong opinion because I don't know about it. I feel like with firearms in particular, there's nobody who ever says that. They have some super strong opinion about it all the time. And it almost feels like you haven't earned the right to have that opinion. Like people who know this stuff put a lot of time and energy. Keegan, I know, for example, you were talking on our podcast last time about the amount of books you've read.
I wish.
You're a decorated author. No, but you talk about reading the books and doing all this research and studying and all this stuff. And mine's partly on the legal side of it, but also building them and all this stuff. Like it takes so much time and money to understand these things and have an idea of what you're doing. You damn near have to be a paralegal to be a gun owner these days. I mean, one of our first podcasts, we talked about it with John, what you can and can't have on an AR pistol, what makes it a pistol, what you can't have. You can have an angled foregrip, but you can't have a vertical foregrip. You can have a pistol brace, but you can't have a stock. Like all these stupid rules, and you just have to know them all or else you're a felon. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of time and energy to do that. And so when people who have no clue what they're talking about come in and just act like you're a dipshit, you don't know what you're talking about, these are machine guns. It's just infuriating. I just, like I said, maybe it's in other aspects, and this is just the thing I know about most, but it just seems like everyone has this super strong expert opinion without knowing what the hell they're talking about. And it's exhausting. That's the whole point of this channel and everything, is to educate people from a friendly point of view and not just talk about what idiots people are. I know that's kind of what I'm doing now, but it's just, I don't know. Keegan, Tommy, I know you're kind of into this, and we've talked before. I kind of gave you warnings on what you can and can't do. And Keegan, I don't know if you run into it too, again, especially with the concealed carry stuff. If you run into people, talking out of their ass and acting like you don't know what you're talking about. But
and this is really meant this whole channel was meant as an open discussion because me and you have different views.
Right.
Same, but different. And I see it one way, you see it the other. Your brother sees it here.
Of course, still in the chat.
I hope he is.
I bet he's gone.
Yeah, but it's one of those. We try to argue this side of the argument, but keep peace between the two. I'm a gun owner that enjoys having firearms. You're a gun owner that enjoys having firearms. And it's one of those. We're both sides of the coin to an extent.
I think the main thing to point out is I'm not necessarily willing to concede, and we've talked about this before. It's not like I'm like, let's find some middle ground. I've even shared it before. Like, yeah, I'm an extremist. Like when it comes to firearm ownership, I'd consider myself an extremist. I don't think you are,
because I know there are people that are far more extreme.
I think they just have more money than I do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, man, I know some guys who have like Barretts and but like you said, like if you had enough money, I mean, I would definitely be having Barretts and stuff myself too. So,
but like there are guys that know what's legal and what isn't legal, and still go out and do the illegal side.
Well, that's like I was talking earlier.
You're not the extremist there because you're like, well, I'm going to do what I can within the confines of the law. And even now, with Missouri doing that ban on federal laws, you're like, yeah, I'm still going to wait.
Well, I guess I would say my views are extremist. I guess I'm not an extremist. Yeah, it's kind of like we were just talking about. I'm not willing to go to prison, and honestly, it takes some stones. But
and I'm just one of those that not everybody should have them.
I don't think everyone should have them, but, until you lose, right? Guns have demonized so much that a lot of people don't even research the positives of firearms. And it continues. The vast majority of concealed carry owners never have to shoot their guns. People think gun owners just carry for a reason to kill somebody. 100%. Yeah, that's what I've told people before. I'm like, I carry this thing every day, and I've never once even drawn it.
I hope to never do that.
So, yeah, it's not as if I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. We've beat it to death, but yeah, that is the point. The whole point of this is to bring the discussion to people in a friendly way that we can discuss it, not just beat people over the head with what they don't know. But when stuff like this starts and people just aren't even willing to have the conversation, it's like, no, I don't care what you say. You don't need a machine gun. It's like, yeah, but it's not a machine. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to hear it. You don't need a machine gun. It's like, yeah, but I don't have a machine gun. And they're like, it's an AR. It's a machine gun. All right. So, like I said, most of the time I can't even get started, or else my whole night's gone.
Yeah, that's kind of how I learned with it too. Like, man, they cornered me, and I'm like, man, like I can't even explain it. You won't even let me get my point across. And then from another point of view, I tried telling them well, in this case, let's say I have this house or something, I would probably want some type of shotgun or something,
right.
Inside. You know what I mean? I'm just saying inside the house, but then I said outside the house you would want a pistol or a rifle or something like that, just as general self-defense, not anything
right.
too crazy. But like you said, they just always think you got fully automatics and stuff. And like how you were talking about how people push the laws nowadays. I've been seeing lots of stuff on TikTok. I don't know about you, but these guys are putting these switches on their Glocks, to make it fully automatic. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
That was a big thing a year or two ago.
I've been seeing it a lot on TikTok, man. And I know that these guys aren't guys, doing it legally. So it's, at that point, I'm sure the ATF are looking into them a little bit too.
Like I said, they were. That was a bit. I think there was a gun show or something a couple of years ago up near Chicago. Those were all over the place.
Oh wow!
But like I said, it's a good discussion to have. with people, it's just a frustrating one. And I know I said, people have strong opinions about it, and I understand that they, if they think that's the root cause of school shootings and people getting killed and stuff, I understand that point. That's the biggest thing is I'm sympathetic to it. I understand where you're coming from, but like I said, it's just it just with so little research. And I think this Rittenhouse trial has really just kind of highlighted it because people are pointing out things that are verifiably factually wrong. Like I understand we're going to disagree with people, but just when they say things that are factually wrong, like verifiably incorrect, and they don't even want to hear that. But yeah, we're over an hour and a half now. We can kind of wind this down. You guys got any final thoughts or predictions? What you're expecting to go on here?
Man, I'll be honest. Like, if this one doesn't, if he doesn't get, acquitted, or if he doesn't end up having the charges dropped on primary self-defense on this one, I'll be pretty upset with the whole judicial system, and I won't be too upset. But like you said, I think it's going to set a precedent, and I think that's going to be the main issue there. That precedent, I think, is going to be a big deal. So, I really hope that he gets to walk in this case. Like the judge said, if it's self-defense, the ball game's over. So I think that hopefully they rule it as it's self-defense.
Yeah, Keegan, what you got?
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the case itself, I'm definitely going with self-defense all day. I mean, it's clear as day that, he was acting in self-defense when it comes to a loaded pistol being pointed at his face, an unclear bag being thrown at him. I mean, especially when there was Molotovs being thrown all night. You don't know what the hell that bag was. A skateboard, in my opinion, is definitely reason for deadly force. I mean,
a deadly weapon when it's swung at your head.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at the Wisconsin, like what they consider a deadly weapon, and basically anything that can cause great bodily harm. And I mean, if you can't cause, I know this sounds messed up, but if you can't cause great bodily harm hitting someone with a skateboard, like I don't think you're swinging hard enough, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, it's self-defense. I mean, that's my opinion. We can go on all day about him not being there, but like you said, that's not a legal aspect. That's just more morals. But when it comes down to the actual case, it's self-defense. There's no questions about it.
You got any last thoughts?
I think I pretty much said my piece.
Beat it into the ground. Yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. I mean, it's the scariest part to me is the precedent that it could set, and the whole aspect of self-defense is kind of what's at stake here. So yeah, I agree, Tommy. Like you said, I think the judicial system will have failed horribly. I mean, I didn't even think it should have gone to trial from what I saw the next day. I understand, we got to look at all the evidence, and then once I did that, I was even more convinced that it was self-defense. And quite frankly, I think anything else is just people letting either their bias against firearms in general or personal media opinion sway them. And you hate to see either one of those happen. But yeah, hopefully they make the right call here. And I do appreciate the fact that the judge is letting it go to the jury. There was talk originally of like the judge dismissing the case, and he's like, I've heard enough. This is stupid. But I think he's letting it go to the jury because he wants to do things the right way, and you kind of trust the system and wants to prove that it can work. But hopefully that's what happens. So, all right, guys. Thanks to everyone who joined and watched and commented with us. Like I said, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Like us if you're watching on Facebook. We got a lot more content coming. Like I said, the whole point of this channel is to kind of educate people from a friendly point of view, not go over people's heads who are into it. We want to get casual firearm enthusiasts involved, but at the same time, people who may disagree with us, we want to have that discussion from a friendly place, not browbeating people and talking shit on what people don't know. So, yeah, we got a lot more coming, reviews, discussions, stuff like that. We do a podcast pretty often. They're on the YouTube channel. It's Unsuppressed. This is John. He's on there quite a bit. Tommy and Keegan both both with us a lot. And Keegan, go ahead and give a shout out to you. You do the concealed carry training, and what better time to kind of plug it when we're discussing what you can and can't do with a firearm in self-defense.
Yeah, if you want to follow my page at Cardinal Tactical 762, I will be happy to answer any questions before you get started. That's what I'm here for, and I'm very knowledgeable when it comes to this stuff. And, yep, give me a follow.
And we'll be sure to post links there. We talked about getting a class together with our little Kryptik group here and doing some kind of classes with Cardinal Tactical there. But anyway, yeah, like I said, we appreciate you guys joining us, and sure to follow us for more.